Hello to everyone joining us, and welcome to the Sustainability and Community Conference Series presented by College of the Canyons and the International Center for Sustainability. My name is Ryan Valenzuela-Holguin, and I am an aerospace engineering major here at College of the Canyons, as well as the creator and lead coordinator for this conference series. The mission for these series of conferences is to establish a place for students, community members, as well as anyone interested where they can have access to resources and information, as well as be a place to engage with local providers on the numerous sustainable development and construction taking place in the Santa Clarita Valley. As the city of Santa Clarita strives to create a pathway towards a healthy, livable, and sustainable community, it is more important than ever to become more aware of the different sustainable development measures taking place, as well as how we can sustain as a larger community and learn more about how we can become more involved in making more sustainable choices and living a more sustainable lifestyle. Today, we are being joined by Matt Dickens. He is currently the Sustainability Manager at SCV Water. Matt has more than 20 years of experience in fields of water and energy conservation, and is currently the chair of the Research and Evaluation Committee for the California Water Agency Efficiency. Dickens is an industry leader and having presented on water and energy conservation topics globally, including in Tokyo, Kyoto, Japan, Paris, France, Bath in UK, as well as on numerous occasions as smart water innovations for the EPA's Water Sense and Energy Star programs, and with the Alliance for Water Efficiency. Matt has a BA in political science from the University of New Mexico and a master's of public administration from the University of Southern California's Sol Price School of Public Policy. Please welcome Matt Dickens from SCV Water.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me. Matt Dickens here. I'm going to share my screen so we can go over a presentation that I put together for today's Sustainability and Community Conference. Let me move this out of the way. Just to confirm, can you see my screen all right, Ryan?
Yes, it looks great.
All right, fantastic. So, again, Matt Dickens here, Sustainability Manager. Thanks for that great introduction. Very happy to be here with the audience today, and for those curious minds as to what SCV Water is accomplishing in terms of sustainability. So here, my presentation today is Sustainability Connects Our Vision with an underline of SCV as SCV Water. The presentation milestones will review about SCV Water and our water agency. We'll have a sustainability overview, including activities that date of numerous years, and also some recent inertia that we have pertaining to sustainability planning, as well as other measures. Then we'll look at internal sustainability initiatives that are currently in plant, as well as some external sustainability initiatives that have been ongoing, specifically about water use efficiency and water conservation here in the Valley. And then we'll wrap up by providing, again, another overview of our current activities. There's quite a bit, I get, in essence. So about SCV Water, we're formed in January 2018 by the Active State Legislature, Senate Bill 634. SCV Water brought together the New Hall Water Division, Santa Clarita Water Division, Valencia Water Division, and Castaic Lake Water Agency into forming a wholesale retail water agency known as SCV Water. We are a fully serviced regional water agency located in Santa Clarita Valley, encompassing about 195 square miles, around 74,000 retail customers. That's homes, businesses, irrigation, industry, industrial and institutional customers, and we serve about 280,000 residents here in our system. For those of you who don't know, we are located primarily in Northwest LA County. Most of our service area is located in Los Angeles County, though we do have a small portion that extends into Ventura County, as shown on the map. We have about 44 active groundwater wells that we extract groundwater from. We have 95 local storage reservoirs with about 145 million gallon capacity. That's how much is stored in those tanks, if you will, although there's more water in our distribution system, more water being treated, and also there's groundwater. But when you look around town and you were to combine all those reservoirs together, you're looking at about 145 million gallons of water ready for customers to use. And then across our valley, we have 887 miles of pipeline. That's to guarantee and to ensure that clean, affordable drinking water is served to any customer in our service area, and basically brings clean water to just about any room in your home or your business that you'd like it. So very robust water infrastructure. When we look at our water supply portfolio, we have 4 general categories, as we call them: imported water, groundwater, recycled water, and water banking. Imported water is about half of our water on average, comes from the Sierra Nevada range. This is through the State Water Project. It flows off the mountains and then down through the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta before reaching Santa Clarita Valley via the State Water Project aqueduct. In terms of groundwater, we have 2 aquifers here, the shallow alluvium aquifers and the deep Saugus aquifer. And about half of our water in a general and normal operating year comes from those local sustainable sources that our city is built on. So in essence, SCV Water is built on water, literally. Recycled water is another source that is being developed, and that is essentially wastewater treatment that is effluent. It's wastewater inflows that are treated to tertiary standards, and then we are serving those to some irrigation customers. We're currently expanding those supplies to serve more recycled water to more irrigation customers. And then we have water banking, where SCV Water stores banks. That's essentially exchanges and banking that we have with agreements that we have in Kern Valley or Kern County, and we can call on that water when we need it. So like a bank, savings for not so rainy day. All right, and again, in an average year, about 50% of our water comes from groundwater supplies, and the other 50% is imported from the State Water Project. We have about 1% or maybe a little bit more than that is served as recycled water. And like I said on the previous slide, SCV Water is currently working to expand its use and its coverage for irrigation purposes in our valley. The last 3 years, it should be noted too that there's been some changes to those operating supplies. So when we talk about normal supplies, we also have to look at kind of those weird years, if you will, that are either critically dry or some other sort of impact on water sources. And in this case, we're both impacted by drought, which reduced our State Water Project contributions and our percentages, or allocation, if you will. And then we had some constraints on our local groundwater due to PFAS contamination that caused us to depend more on those imported water sources and banked water supplies, while our agency implemented a very innovative water treatment regime and capacity for those impacted groundwater wells. So now turning to SCV Water, which our tagline is service, community, and value. Looking at our strategic plan, our vision is to have exemplary water management for high quality of life in the Santa Clarita Valley. Our mission, which is what our water agency works towards every day, is to provide responsible water stewardship to ensure SCV has reliable supplies of high quality water at a reasonable cost. And our key values include excellence, integrity, innovation, safety, professionalism, and trust. All right, so now let's turn to our sustainability overview. And while there are quite a bit of global activities that our agency has been working on since before it was formed, when it was formed, and today, we're going to focus more on the sustainability salient type activities that we're currently working on, including our renewable energy projects, and I'll talk more about this in a moment, as well as our external facing activities like water use efficiency and water conservation. Okay, so SCV Water Sustainability Overview, we have been working on developing a strategic plan and an operating plan, if you will. And our research notes that the general definition of sustainability is that sustainability meets the needs of today, the current climate, without comprising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And that's the kind of general definition of sustainability. A working definition for an organization or a firm might include something like adopting business strategies and activities that meet the needs of the enterprise and its stakeholders today while protecting, sustaining, and enhancing the human and natural resources that will be needed in the future. And that's sourced from the International Institute for Sustainable Development. So we kind of look at it from a broad scope, but then we also look at it at a very salient scope relative to a water agency, a public agency, and the type of service that we provide. Then we kind of turn our attention to the 5-year strategic plan that again has numerous sustainability related or salient type of components in it that helps drive our activities to understand, organize, and develop priorities, and also to catalog and measure and monitor current success as well as perhaps future success. So these are the different goals. Those include, working with implementing and communicating policies supporting the social quality of life and environmental values of the community, to water supply and resource sustainability, as well as developing a high performance team. So again, strategic plan broadly covers sustainability in a sense like that working definition that I mentioned before. But if you're interested, our 5-year strategic plan is located on our website. And you can dive further into those, into the plan itself, as well as to the measures that are included in it. But again, I think what we're showing here is that together, there's quite a bit of sustainability work currently embedded in our agency's practices. All right, so now we'll turn to some more internal sustainability initiatives that I've been working on and leading as a sustainability manager. Those activities to date include the development and the current planning process for our sustainability plan, the launch of the agency's Green Team, which is a cross-organizational group of professionals from our various different departments that get together to discuss components of the sustainability plan, as well as current activities that are related to sustainability or efficiency improvements. We are working on some innovative renewable energy and battery storage projects. Our fleet folks in operations are working on fleet management and fuel conversion, and then I'll discuss some other efforts. All right, so turning to our sustainability plan, as an organization starts to take those activities that I mentioned before that are embedded and intrinsic to the agency's operations, we start to look at where there are opportunities for improved sustainability, as well as expanding that logic and philosophy into the paradigm where there's opportunities that are cost effective and would allow us to continue to maintain our mission and vision. And so the first thing we did was to launch the SCV Water USC Collaborative. In this case, USC grad students conducted a research project looking at academic literature, what other public agencies are doing in terms of successful sustainability initiatives and planning components. And essentially that they provided our agency with some recommendations that would support financial responsibility, that were strategically aligned with our strategic plan, and that promoted that kind of corporate or business strategy or public agency of responsibility. And it included components like develop a plan, look at your fleet management and opportunities in fleet, look at employee activities and organization like the Green Team, build agency support such as the sustainability manager and sustainability efforts that are focused on championing those efforts and creating accountability and responsibility. That led us to working with a consultant to conduct a sustainability plan. And that sustainability plan will look at all of the components of the agency, including energy and transportation, water, materials and waste, land and ecosystems, people and human resources, infrastructure. It'll work to develop a GHG baseline, performance tracking, adaptive management, and also identify measures, again, like I said, that are cost effective, that will improve and sustain the agency's mission, ability to achieve its mission while improving its resiliency, optimization, and reducing costs, and ultimately reducing emissions and other types of waste. So the Green Team was launched in 2019, right around the time we were working with the USC collaboration. And the Green Team, again, includes folks from my department, which is water resources, as well as from our engineering group and our administration and operations and our IT. And it's all about thinking about, again, what are those opportunities? Where do they exist? What might help improve or streamline or make more efficient our business practices and operations, while also kind of meeting those sustainability, those social, environmental, and financial kind of components, economic type components. The Green Team is assisting with change management. When an organization goes through any type of new effort, whether it be something as small as a new website or a new customer information system or even a accounting software, it has new processes and procedures and practices that hundreds and hundreds of people have to learn and adapt and conform to. And so change management is about working through all of those pieces of not having that system to fully implementing it in an optimal manner. So the Green Team helps along with that effort as well. And we meet quarterly to discuss activities, opportunities, like I mentioned before. And then we also reach out to our agency through emails, through other promotions, to promote things like how to be more sustainable at work, like the slide here shows. That could be being energy smart, turning off your lights and your computers when you're away from your desk, to reducing, reusing, and recycling when and where you can. Paper, cardboard, plastics, those types of things that can be recycled. And then greening your space. Plants, house plants not only have demonstrated through studies that they can improve air quality, but they also can sometimes improve atmosphere and qualitative components like my own energy in terms of how I'm working in my office and feeling a little more enjoying the greenery of the plants around me. So now I'm going to turn to some renewable energy and battery storage projects. Here we have, through our self-generation incentive projects that we're working on. Oh, no, sorry, excuse me. This is about our current existing renewable energy. We have a 4.5 megawatt photovoltaic system that was constructed in 2011, the smaller 0.95 megawatt field down near the treatment plant. This is up near Central Park and the Rio Vista treatment plant. In 2011, the 1 megawatt solar field was constructed, and in 2013, the 3.5 megawatt system was constructed. That's about 800 homes worth of photovoltaic energy production. And then we're also working on some self-generation incentive projects on the horizon, which I'll discuss here shortly. So the first of the SCHIP projects that we're working on is the Earl Schmidt treatment plant, which this treatment plant is located up near Castaic Lake. SCV Water has two treatment plants. That is the Earl Schmidt plant, as well as the Rio Vista plant up near Central Park. This project here, I've shown our concept drawings. Essentially, it'd be 680 kilowatt DC additional of photovoltaics. That's the blue areas that are outlined there. That would have 928 kilowatt hour battery storage. And so the project cost estimate is about $1.8 million. And the state of California, through the CPUC, has a self-generation incentive program that will help cover the cost of these projects. And in this case, this project would receive about $459,000 in incentives from either the Southern California Edison or from the gas company, our local utilities, energy utilities. This system would offset consumption, would basically offset by 87%. So that means that of all the energy that this plant uses to treat water, this solar project would supply 87% of its energy production. The battery storage would have about 1,311 kilowatts of demand capabilities. It also provides battery backup. So this is where you get into kind of looking at projects holistically, not just from the perspective of the renewable energy and the clean energy and the energy itself, but also having battery backup allows the treatment plant to maintain operations should an outage occur through a public safety power shutoff or some catastrophic outage. That plant with that battery could run for about many hours alone on the solar system and the battery. However, there are generators on site too, as to add further backup. But again, it provides us with a step in resiliency to maintain operations before we kick on those generators. It has a useful life about 25 years, and the savings payback, or the payback for the agency, would be about 14 years. The next SCHIP project that SCV Water is looking at is battery storage at the Rio Vista treatment plant. As I mentioned before, we have 4.5 megawatts of photovoltaic existing at the site. This would add 2,088 kilowatt hour battery right over here at this green box to help provide battery backup for the Rio Vista treatment plant. It has a project cost about $1.16 million, and its self-generation incentive is about $1 million. So it's a very cost-effective program for us to put in 2,000 kilowatt hour battery. That's a very large Duracell. Currently the solar offset is about 42% of existing energy use for that site. We would see annual BESS demands at about 4,338 kilowatts. The battery backup is about 4% at 24 hours, but there's also on-site generators, as I mentioned before, but there would be a step in resiliency before needing to kick on those generators. The savings term, those batteries last about 15 years, and the payback in this project is about 4 years. So in addition to the SCHIP projects and our existing solar, amongst other many activities, our fleet supervisor and our operations and admin folks are working to transition to renewable diesel, which is an improvement from non-renewable diesel. We are conducting electric vehicle feasibility analysis. There's quite a bit of incentives out there to support the development and construction of electric vehicle charging stations. And there may be potential for us to convert some of our vehicles to electric to utilize both the charging stations as well as the transportation, satisfying our transportation needs without those local generated emissions. And then also, in addition to those I wanted to mention this here. In addition to those activities, SCV Water has transitioned to a work from home, a telecommuting option, which in and of itself has reduced the number of miles driven, the number of hours on the road, and the number of gallons consumed considerably by allowing employees the option to work from home 2 days per week. All right, so that was a nice overview of some major activities, planning, as well as some renewable energy projects and fleet management activities that the agency is working on internally. Now I'm going to turn to one of my favorite topics, water use efficiency, that is an external sustainability initiative. Okay, so in this case, our conservation mission is fairly simple, and that's to assist our customers with conservation goals. And we recognize that as a conservation or water use efficiency program, as a water utility, our customers have a wide range of needs. What we want to promote through all of those is the efficient use of water, because every gallon of water is important. We should put water to beneficial use. And so what that means is that we're looking to prioritize ways to eliminate waste and ways to eliminate the water use associated with inefficient components of water consumption by improving the efficiency, thereby reducing the gallon per gallon overage need to satisfy whatever that function is. And that includes things like lawn replacement programs, where we are trying to promote sustainable landscapes instead of turf grass. To give an example, every square foot of grass on average in our valley takes about 10 feet of water, whereas a water efficient landscape per square foot of area covered would be about 3 feet of water. So what does that mean? That means that customers can have beautiful, attractive, colorful landscapes that use 1/3 of the water. Apply that over 10 years, it starts to add up quite a bit. Every square foot of grass would be 100 feet underwater, whereas all of the water efficient landscapes would be about 3 feet underwater. So, 30 feet. So great opportunity there to have the same function, a beautiful landscape with less water. We also promote education, technology upgrades with controllers, and water efficiency kits, and offer surveys. Do tons of programs that, again, assist our customers with their unique, specific water efficiency and water conservation goals. Turning to the water conservation logic, what, why, and how? Well, water conservation is supported through mandates in the state of California, as well as through our own values and our mission and vision. But some water conservation, like what is water conservation? Well, it stretches supplies for customer demand. For example, we're currently in a drought, even though we've seen some relief in the drought, and the conditions have lightened up a little bit, but still 100% of the state is experiencing some level of drought, though it may not be as extreme. And we saw some local precipitation and improvement in our state water allocation, our state water project allocation. However, every gallon we use today is a gallon that we cannot put to beneficial use tomorrow. So by stretching out our supplies, what we mean is that reduced waste, that's irrigation runoff or leaky toilets or broken sprinklers or whatever, broken pool floats, all that water that's used today is water that we're going to supply. And then that means that we can't use that water tomorrow if those conditions exacerbate or increase or intensify. So conservation is beneficial because it stretches out those supplies in a far more beneficial use paradigm. It also helps us achieve 24% gallon per gallon a day reduction by 2022, which is our current interim conservation strategy that leads us to the next water conservation mandate, which is embedded in what's known as Assembly Bill 1668 and Senate Bill 606, which is essentially known or formally known as the Conservation Long-Term Framework. And that establishes that the Valley, beginning in 2024, will have to meet annual urban water use targets that are based off of various different attributes and types of use in our Valley. So water conservation is a great way to help us meet that. It also, again, helps us meet our current targets, which the governor has asked that we voluntarily conserve 15% compared to 2020. So why conserve? Well, it helps SCV achieve sustainability. It promotes responsible stewardship, supports economic development, improves water quality, complies with the state law and mandates, defers water supply and infrastructure capital costs. What does that mean? That means if we can use our supply infrastructure to meet existing demands, we don't have to build new and scale out new capital projects to meet those growths in demand. So we're able to use existing infrastructure for a longer period of time before having to expand. It stabilizes long-term impacts to revenue volatility, meaning that rates and costs of water are affected by inflation and the cost of power and cost of treatment. If you have huge fluctuations in demands, that changes the calculus of how a rate is designed. And so as a community develops more of a less variable demand pattern, one that's more efficient, that's going to create revenue reliability over time because you won't see as much variability. Those impacts will still be power, energy, chemical, those types of things. And of course, it recognizes the value of our current supplies. As sustainability manager and having been in conservation for 20 years, I can tell you every drop matters. So how do we accomplish conservation? Planning and management, operational best and smart practices, pricing and rate structures, education and training, outreach and engagement, water use efficiency improvements, and wastewater reductions and enforcement. So this provides a nice overview of the conservation logic. Our conservation approach, we are consistently looking for ways to our customers have said they want to, in our mission states, that we want to supply clean, reliable water in an affordable manner, at an affordable cost. And I think customers, as a customer myself, we want the most utility out of our water service at the lowest cost. I think that's what we're looking for, the most utility, the best utility out of our water service at lowest cost. And one way to do that, the best way to accomplish that, is through water efficiency. i.e. not paying for water that is wasted or used by or lost in efficiencies, and having all those preferences met at the right amount of water, the optimum amount of water. That, of course, is going to help us accomplish that goal, because then you have great showers, great landscapes, clothes washers work, dishwashers work, so on and so forth. And so we work as a water agency, we work closely and depend on and collaborate with the EPA Water Sense program, the U.S. Green Building Council, Smart Water Applied Technologies, so that these systems and technologies are not only going to save water, but they're going to meet customer performance demands and standards. This diagram is going to just kind of show us what that looks like when we're talking about improving the service or the utility from the service while reducing those costs. So as our water, groundwater, and surface water come in to be used by end users, if we can improve efficiency, quality, and performance, we can have beautiful landscapes, drip irrigation, great showers, and that's going to provide that service at a high quality while reducing waste, so that we're not paying for the wasteful use of water, such as runoff or leaky toilets or evaporation losses. So again, through small changes, small technology improvements, we can still maintain those things that we want in our homes and that we've come to know and love as Californians, while reducing and eliminating water loss and waste. So I'm going to turn to performance now, and this is a really cool chart that we've been working with for dating back to 1995. What we're going to see here is the blue and green bars show us essentially our SBX 7-7 baseline. So that is a mathematical calculation that we use to determine what our population or what the average user or person in our service area was using back in the 1995 to 2010 period. The black dashed line is actual production, and those are both in acre feet. And then the red dotted line is population, which is shown on the secondary axis. And then you'll notice that the green and blue bars start to deviate from each other in 2010. That's because we were supposed to meet a 2% reduction in gallon per capita day per year from 2010 to 2020. And what we can see is that in 2020, the very last year, our community had water consumption that was below the SBX 7-7 target. So we exceeded our 20% reduction in gallon per capita day by 2020. So when you look at that, you could say, okay, our usage in 2020 matches about what we see in 2001, even though our population has grown from about 200,000 to about 280,000 or 270,000 at the time. So even though the population has grown by 30%, roughly back to the envelope estimates, our usage has gone down 20%. So great work to the community. That value, if we were to say how customers consumed water compared to what the baseline was, the savings estimate is about 185,860 acre feet of water, or 60.6 billion gallons. That's billion with a B. So here's some fun facts. 60.6 billion gallons of water. That's not just water that we're saving, but it's also energy to move that water around. So how much does 60.6 billion gallons of water weigh? Well, here's the math for you. I think the math is correct here, and that's about 251 million tons, or 251.5 million tons is how much 60.6 billion gallons of water weighs. So that's a lot of energy that was saved by not having to move, a lot of chemicals saved not having to treat, and a lot of money saved our customers not purchasing that water that wasn't providing beneficial use. So when we look at 60.6 billion gallons, we can basically say that, I mentioned it's 180,000 acre feet. An acre is about the size of a football field. So if we took that water, we took a football field and we built a glass pool around it, because let's say we had a weekend where we didn't have much to do. We wanted to see how much water is 180,000 acre feet. It's basically 35.2 miles. That swimming pool, a football field, would be 35.2 miles high, 6.6 times the height of Mount Everest. So if anybody's been to Mount Everest and climbed that, I did it virtually. It was complicated even in the virtual sense on an exercise I did in my master's program. But 6.6 Mount Everest, that could fill the Rose Bowl 404 times. It's equivalent in weight to 2,515 aircraft carriers. So often when I'm sitting in my office and I look out in the valley, I think about all these aircraft carriers going back and forth, and knowing that that's how much water was saved. And that's basically assuming 100,000 metric tons of offset or displacement from the carrier. And it's also equal to about 44 Great Pyramids. So that's a lot of water, a lot of energy, and a lot of great savings and performance by our community. And this is a kind of a fun chart here, and that is if we took all that water and we broke it down into a cubic foot, 1 cubic foot roughly holds about 7.48 gallons of water. So if we took that 180,000 acre feet, did the math and said how many cubic feet is that, it would be enough, again, if we wanted to stack each cubic on top of each other, it would be enough for us to go at least around the moon twice. We're getting close to 2.5 times. So that means we went around, and now we're back on the moon. So in order to get home on this journey, we're going to need to keep saving more water so we have enough blocks to give ourselves the ride home. Oh, all right. So in conclusion, SCV Water is committed to sustainability and has been committed to sustainability for as long as it has existed, as well as through its legacy agencies. And we know that because our community is committed to sustainability. But when we look at other components that I didn't mention, because there's so much, but I wanted to focus on those things that as sustainability manager, I work directly on. But in addition to that, we have these other planning components that all build and create critical, essential pieces to the sustainability framework. And in order to help us accomplish sustainability, that includes our urban water management plan that identifies our water supply sources. It projects out to full build out, and it works on both normal years and dry years so that we are really prepared with our supply capabilities to meet demands of our customers today and tomorrow. We also have the water shortage contingency plan, and that is for those years when I mentioned before we plan to normal as well as critical dry years. And there are cases where certain issues might make those plans or might be beyond those plans, catastrophic outage, earthquake, perhaps extreme shortages in the state water project or groundwater constraints. So that plan is prepared. We currently are in a stage 1 water shortage strategic plan, and that's to help the agency and the community meet water conservation targets. Things were, in terms of the drought, things were looking pretty drastic before we received those record December rains. Again, we've had some relief, but we're still promoting the efficient use of water so we can save for future years. There's also there's a water use efficiency strategic plan that we work on every year. I give you a nice overview of how successful that's been. We have integrated water management plan. We have the groundwater sustainability plan that was just recently unanimously adopted. And then we have other activities that I've mentioned here today. We've got renewable energy projects and battery storage. We have sustainability planning. And then we'll be updating the water use efficiency strategic plan here in the not too distant future. But as you can see, the agency is working diligently day in and day out to achieve its mission so that our community has access to clean, reliable, affordable water day in and day out. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I did want to note here as my last slide that in our commitment to serve our customers to the best of our ability, SCV Water has won excellence awards from the EPA's Water Sense program and back-to-back years in 2020 and 2021 for projects that we did to help multifamily apartments conserve over 100 million gallons per year in those projects, as well as our smart controller programs and our education programs. But again, our commitment is to provide the best service to our customers in support of our mission and our vision. I'm Matt Dickens. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and thank you for spending your time with me today. And please feel free to reach out to me. My email is provided here if you have any additional questions or comments at any time. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Matt Dickens, for sharing those really amazing facts and information on how much water was saved here. I think one of the first questions we have is, I guess it's the big overall question of, are we going to run out of water here in Santa Clarita?
Well, thank you, Ryan, and that's a great question. And the answer is no. As I mentioned before, the agency has gone through robust resiliency and reliability planning for decades. And what we've determined is that our normal operating years, as identified in the Urban Water Management Plan, provide us with the water supplies needed to serve our customers today and tomorrow. And then we have shortage contingency plans to deal with those egregious cases that fall outside of the operating plan bound. But I definitely want to promote and just share that through the Urban Water Management Plan process, as well as our amazing water supply planners, we have access to groundwater and state water project, but also we've stored those surpluses in the state water project and banking programs. And so what that means is that when we have a year, say there's no snowpack and no precipitation up in the northern California, Sierra Nevadas, that we can pull in import water. And the state says, the State Water Project contractors are given 0% of their allocation. We have the ability to conjunctively use banking programs from surplus from previous years, as well as our groundwater sources, to make sure that our customers are able to have access to those supplies as we've identified them. However, it should be noted that there are times when the situation calls for us to enact that water shortage contingency plan. And what the shortage plan is designed to do is, one, prioritize banking and supplies and access to banking supplies, but then also to communicate to the public that, hey, we're diving into the bank here, and we're conjunctively managing our groundwater supplies. And it's very important, as always, that customers take a moment to identify any opportunities they can save water through technology improvements, through correcting leaks or fixing leaks, through eliminating irrigation runoff. We think about that for a moment. Irrigation runoff occurs because somebody's sprinkler is left on too long. That water that's running off is not supplying your grass or your landscape the water it needs to grow. It's literally running right off through the property into the storm drains, into the gutters. That water we could save by just reducing a minute or two here, and those gallons that were then used to be runoff can be put to use tomorrow or next year. So those are very simple things that we try to do by increasing awareness, expanding engagement, and just communicating to the public the value of every gallon of water.
That's great to hear. One of the questions we had regarding the sustainability plan, are there any upcoming projects in the works for that plan at SCV Water?
So the planning process currently is going through the engagement component and the stakeholder input and feedback process. So when we develop a plan as a public agency, we want to make sure that it's something that our agency, we have to fully understand what our agency is doing, where those opportunities exist, kind of run through an analysis and conduct an analysis of the most cost beneficial return on investment projects that would improve our ability to achieve our mission and vision. And then it goes through board input and feedback to understand value proposition and to make sure that that plan conforms to what our stakeholders and our decision makers are looking for. It opens up to the public, so the public has an opportunity to say, this is what we're looking for from the water agency. These are our priorities. This is what's important to us. And we take all that feedback in and incorporate that into a plan that would then guide us in those, helping us to meet those opportunities. So we're not done yet with the plan. What I would say is that the plan probably, we're going to have a board workshop in March or April. Then there'll be a public workshop that the public will be invited to. And then the board, then there'll be a draft release plan to the public for comments. And then we would seek adoption by our board of directors. And at that point in time, I think I'd have a much more clear understanding of what the projects, in addition to those things I've mentioned already, might be included in the plan.
Okay. Well, it'd be really interesting to be able to, for the public to be able to sit on and just kind of see and learn more and understand on what the sustainability plan is working toward. Does the Green Team work with outside partners or organizations?
The Green Team has not yet worked with many outside organizations or partners, but I know that the Los Angeles County has a Green Team. I think other agencies might be starting to, again, start to organize those resources. And I think to avoid working in the vacuum or silo, we certainly would want to engage with other organizations to learn, to collaborate, to develop better understanding and a better wealth of knowledge. So we have not yet, except for some limited communication with LA County. But if there's folks out there that have their own Green Team, or there's opportunities that you think would be beneficial, please reach out to me. and or expect a call from me soon as I gather more intelligence.
Cool. So one of the questions we had was, does the rain we see in Santa Clarita Valley contribute to the water supplies here?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Oh, sure. Does the rain we see in Santa Clarita Valley contribute to the water supplies?
Yes, absolutely. So when we look at our groundwater sources, there's two aquifers here. There's a shallow alluvium aquifer that we pull quite a bit of water from, and then there's a deep saugus aquifer that's under a clay layer and is deeper and far more sizable. When it rains, that water percolates into the alluvium aquifer, and it does impact the saugus aquifer as well. And what we'll see is that, generally speaking, in rain, we do have fairly clay salient soils here, so we'll see a lot of runoff. But even with that, we tend to see some pretty quick recharge of the alluvium system after rainfalls. However, it's important to note that successive years of extreme drought where we're not getting rainfall. For example, in 2021, up until October, we were at 80% of average rainfall. So that means we were at 20% of average rainfall. We were 80% below. We were on a record dry year, and then we had 10 inches of rain in one day, around 10 inches of rain in one day in December, whereas we had only about 1 inch of rain in the previous 12 months. A lot of that water will absorb into the aquifer system, but if it comes in sizable, like if we only receive 10 inches in one day every time, a lot of that would run off into the system and move down the watershed. So for us, ideally, and both from a safe perspective, it's wonderful when we get an inch of rain here, an inch of rain here, an inch of rain here, and some time in between that so that water can soak into the soil and absorb into the aquifers. But we'll definitely take what we can get.
That's great. I'm sure the inconsistency of rainfall would make it difficult for SCV Water to be able to, like you said, to keep track of certain water levels being absorbed into the soil here. Are there any challenges that would bring, some landslides or issues with certain native plants?
Yeah, and I would have to say that there are folks in our operations and in our planning, our GSA folks, Groundwater Sustainability Agency folks, that might be able to answer that more global question. But it makes things difficult when you're dealing with extremes, as opposed to when you're dealing with normal operational variables. For example, like I mentioned before, we tend to, I think December on average, we would get about 3 inches of rain, maybe somewhere in the 3 inches for the whole month in December. And some of our rain gauges recorded as high as 12 inches in one day in December. So you sit there and you go, well, what does that mean? What does that really do? Well, clay soils, for example, can absorb water at about 0.2 inches per hour. Anything over that application rate of 0.2 inches per hour is going to shed. And so that's going to move quickly instead of absorbing, we're going to get some good absorption, but it's going to move quickly into the stormwater system and then in the river and then run down towards Ventura and towards the Pacific Ocean. And so it's hard to say, was 100% of that rain captured in our rainwater basin? Probably not. But again, we'll take what we can. I mean, having that rainfall, even though it's that level and we're going to lose some or it's going to shed quicker than we can absorb, it certainly is a lot better than having zero rain. Because then you start looking at the effect of water levels dropping. You're looking at our water wells dropping below their deadpan? Can they continue to produce water? We're fairly fortunate, like I said, that we have conjunctive water management that's very resilient, very sustainable, and very active. But, you know, we are dealing with right now what we call environmental or kind of whiplash, in a sense, where it's really, October we had great rains at the end of the month, and then November nothing. December huge rains, January nothing. So it's like it reminds me of LA freeways. You're either driving really, really fast or you're not moving at all. And that's really hard to plan your trip. You know what I mean? You gotta make sure, what do you plan to if that's the case? Well, you have to plan to the longest time it would take for you to get somewhere rather than the shortest time it would take. And that's because you're not getting good, it's just not happening in an average, predictable way.
Yeah, really like your example with that. Does SCV Water use the Santa Clara River in any way to help with the water, like transporting water or like rainwater capturing systems or anything like that?
Yeah, again, that's a question that I think in our groundwater sustainability agency on our plan that was recently released, we definitely have interaction with the Santa Clara River, but I think those details would be identified in that plan. That's really, I'd have to ask our planning folks from that agency if they can provide more detail on that. But I do know too that the agency has been considering and working Arundo, for example, is a common plant in the Santa Clara watershed area that uses a lot of water, and it's invasive and it's very hard to get rid of. And so I know there's been discussion and activity to try to mitigate that by removing those plants in the Santa Clara River system to, again, make sure those supplies aren't consumed by Arundo that shouldn't be there in the first place. So that could be quite sizable.
What are some of the sustainable projects, like any sustainable development, that are currently being planned?
So I mentioned the self-generation incentive project at the Earl Schmidt treatment plant. That's photovoltaic and battery, as well as battery storage at the Rio Vista treatment plant. But we're also another example of a sustainability project on the sustainability plan. SCV Water is preparing to launch a new version of its lawn replacement program that will provide increased incentives to remove turf grass with water efficient landscape, increased incentives that prioritize the use of native plants, improvements in irrigation efficiency from spray to drip irrigation, or you can use high efficiency irrigation, all the way down to what other features like sheet mulching, rainwater gardens, terracing, the use of rain barrels. We even have programs for bee hotels, native bee hotels, and owl boxes. So that program is getting ready to, it's currently active, but we're getting ready to start increasing our engagement, communication, and marketing to the public in March. And so our hope is that program really works towards homeowners and residents taking turf landscapes, which, by the way, turf grass is, I used the model before about use about 10 feet of water per square foot per year, whereas native plants use about 3. But also it'll promote native bees, native plants, biodiversity, owls. We have native owls here in the valley that, help contribute to our avian and our bird and our biodiversity populations. So yeah, that's a huge project that I'm very, very proud of. Our team has been working really, really hard on it. Our board approved it. And I think that's going to bring some great sustainable change to water use, but also to kind of those landscapes that we see around town. So that's a big one.
Yeah, it's definitely, I would think the biodiversity initiatives would be really big with like the water conservation and trying to figure out what kind of plants to plant in certain areas and how to kind of protect Santa Clarita Valley's natural environment.
Right.
Are there any upcoming events that SCV Water has, or workshops or anything like that?
There are, and let me see here. So anytime a customer wants if you pay a water bill and you have a water account, you can log on to WaterSmart Workshop at any time and take a free home water efficiency do-it-yourself evaluation. You'll go through all the different programs we offer, some interactive examples, interactive activities that you can do, how to check your meter, how to read your meter, how to use your meter to check for water leaks, how to check your toilets for leaks, how to fix leaks, as well as how to identify what kind of water savings opportunities you have. You get a report at the end of that that identifies, it kind of puts you into a ranking of bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. And you get $20 credit on your water bill by taking that. So you get a whole bunch of information and you get a credit right away. We also have some classes coming up on March 5th. We have a Designing Sustainable Landscape class. On April 2nd, we have edible landscaping, growing in ground and containers and using raised beds. And then a whole bunch of other classes that we offer that you can learn about on our, either by following us on social media or by accessing our website.
That sounds great. Sounds like really great resources for community members who want to get involved in water resources and in anything like environmental literacy or sustainability. Is there any other topics or anything else going on at SCV Water?
Well, there's always stuff going on at SCV Water. As I said, we're constantly working to ensuring that we achieve our mission and our vision in the most effective and efficient manner possible. So, there is a wealth of knowledge and experience and just dedication to customer service at SCV Water. So quite a bit going on. I think some things on the not too distant horizon just to keep your eyes and ears out for is more information about the drought. As I mentioned before, we had some great precipitation and snowpack as we went into January, but January flatlined and February so far has been lackluster in its production. So, we're watching the supply situation very closely. And of course, always go and visit our website at yourscvwater.com. Also, droughtreadyscv.com to learn ways to prepare and improve drought performance. One thing we've recently done is we've launched a home checkup that if you're an SCV Water customer, you have a bill, you can call our consultant WaterWise, and they'll come to the home and they'll conduct a drought inspection. That by doing so, they'll give you information on all the things that are currently restricted: irrigation runoff, washing your cars without a hose nozzle, irrigating during or after measurable rainfall, using recirculating pumps, washing down sidewalk. They'll give you a push broom. They'll check your sprinkler systems to make sure you don't have runoff, or to tell you how to program it to avoid runoff. They'll provide hose nozzles so you can put them on your hose and wash your cars. And then they'll also provide information regarding those other components that I was mentioning about. And that service is free. And you get all those devices and products for free. So certainly go to our website. I think that information's on droughtreadyscv.com. So those are some things I think to keep your eyes and ears out for. I don't think the drought story is going to go away anytime soon. So it's important for all of us to take a step back. I think it would take about 10 minutes to do the things you need to do at your home to maintain that your landscapes can thrive, that you're going to save water, and that you're not going to have to worry about any of the water use restrictions to be prepared for the drought. 10 minutes. So that's that's kind of the key thing on the horizon.
That sounds great. It's definitely something we need to look out for and be more aware of. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for joining us today for the Sustainability and Community Conference Series and for discussing all the different approaches and projects and unique strategies that are going on relating to sustainability, biodiversity, and that are taking place all throughout our community here.
Ryan, thanks for having me, and thanks for putting this series together. This was your idea to put this program together?
Yes.
You know what? Excellent. Keep up the great work, and leadership. You had a leadership opportunity and took it. That's great. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for providing a space for us to help share this message and to help provide some information to those who are also interested.
Thank you so much. So on behalf of College of the Canyons and the International Center for Sustainability, we want to thank Matt Dickinson for being part of the Sustainability in Community Conference Series. And we want to also thank all of you for watching this conference. If you are interested in learning more about how you can improve your water use, SCV Water offers numerous resources for those interested in learning more about water efficiency, education programs, landscaping classes, and much more. Visit yourscvwater.com/learning center to learn more. Thank you so much and take care.